Hey, welcome to second part of chapter 1 of class 6th History NCERT textbook. I hope you have seen part 1. If you haven't, then I will put the link in the description below. Please go and watch it first. So let's start. You must have often used the terms India and Bharat. Like India is my country, I love India, and Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. But do you know how did we get these terms? See, around 500 BC, that is 2500 years ago, people from Iran and Greece came through the northwest because that was the only feasible route to come to India from Central and West Asia, as we have a huge stretch of Himalayas in the north to protect us from invaders. When they came, they were already aware about the river Indus, also called as river Sindhu or Sapt Sindhu. So they called the river Indus as Indos or Hindos, maybe due to some pronunciation problem, and land to the east of this river was called as India by them. Talking about the term Bharat, this term has been used in our ancient scripture called Rig Veda to denote the people living in the northwest, and from there we got this term. Rig Veda is the oldest of the 4 Vedas in Hindu religion and is the earliest composition in the Sanskrit language, which is known as the language of gods. Rig Veda is dated around 3500 years ago, that is 1500 BC. But to be very true, I think it is much older than that. But for the sake of your exam, we will go with the 3500 years that is mentioned in NCERT. Now you must be wondering, how do we know so much about the past? See, one of the best ways to find any information about anything is just to simply read about it. We found and read a lot of these books written in ancient times. These books are called as manuscripts. Manu is a Latin word meaning hand. That means these are the scripts written by hand. They were mostly written on any of these 2 surfaces. The first is the palm leaf, and the second is a specially prepared bark of a tree called birch, which grows in Himalayas. See, the problem here is that a lot of these manuscripts have been lost, either eaten by animals and birds or destroyed due to harsh weather conditions. But still, many of them have been preserved in temples and monasteries. They have information about various different subjects like medicine, science, the lives of royalty, poems and plays, etc. etc. They were mostly written in 3 different languages. The first is Sanskrit, the second is Prakrit, and the third is Tamil. Prakrit was used by ordinary people, and even Lord Buddha used to give his teachings in Prakrit, whereas Sanskrit was commonly used in the king's court and by the royalty. See, this is a manuscript written in Sanskrit on a palm leaf. Now coming on to inscriptions. These are also the ancient texts, just like manuscripts, but the only major difference between them is inscriptions are written on a metal or a stone, unlike manuscripts which were written on a palm leaf or a bark of a tree. Writing on a stone or metal has a positive and a negative aspect. The positive part is that these inscriptions will not be destroyed so easily with the passage of time. But the negative side is that inscribing on a stone or a metal is not as easy as writing on a palm leaf. These inscriptions were written both by the royalty and the common people. Kings used it to inscribe his order so that people could read and obey it, whereas common man inscribed to keep a record of things he did. Kings often used these inscriptions to show how powerful and brave they were by marking their victory in battles on stones. A good example of inscription can be seen in this picture. This inscription was made on the orders of a great ruler named Ashoka around 250 BC. It was inscribed in 2 different scripts and languages. The symbol and letters used in a language make up the script of that language. For example, Devanagari is the script used in Hindi, Marathi and Sanskrit language. K, Kh, G, Gh and so on. These are the letters which make up Devanagari script. As you can see, this inscription in the picture has two different languages. The upper one is Greek and the lower one is Aramaic. It was found in Kandahar, present-day Afghanistan. That means Greek and Aramaic were spoken there around 250 BC. Now you must be wondering, who are these people who found out and did research on all these things we just read and brought out to us such valuable information? These people are called as archaeologists. See, manuscripts and inscriptions are not the only objects we have from ancient times. We have discovered paintings, sculptures, objects made up of stone, clay or metal buried under the earth, etc. etc. Basically everything about the history of a man in ancient times, like what he ate, what plants he grew, what kind of house he lived in, what kind of animals were found then, etc. etc. is studied by archaeologists. Of course, we found objects made up of hard substances more because they could survive for a longer time than objects made up of soft substances like plant remains, wood, seed, grains, etc. This pot dates to about 2700 BC. Now answer me what this time period was all about. If you have watched my previous video, you would have already answered it. This was the time of Indus Valley civilization. Now take a look at this picture. Do you know what this is? This is an old silver coin which dates to about 500 BC. Can you see the beautiful design on it? Okay, coming on to the last part of this chapter. Why have we used the term past in plural form in the title of this book, that is our past, instead of using it in a singular form? This is because two different group of people did not have same kind of lives. That means a king and a craft person or a merchant and a herder had their own unique lifestyles. So how can the past for all of us be same, right? Also, there were different customs and practices amongst the people even in those times. Like people living in mountains will have different customs and way of life than those living near the sea or in the cities. People in cities would have been dependent on the market for food, just like today, whereas people living on island would have hunted or grown their own food rather than being dependent on market. There is another major difference, that is, we know a lot about the lives of kings and queens, their battle victories, etc. in comparison to the lives of common people, because kings never missed the chance to get inscribed on stones about their victory battles and lifestyles, but common man mostly inscribed for himself and about his life only on special rare occasions, and that is why we still don't know much about their lives. I have made a separate video for the last part of this chapter, that is dates. I will put a link in the description below. Please go and watch it after this. With this, we come to the end of this chapter. If you learned something valuable from this video, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel, share this video with your friends and like it if you found it helpful. I will see you soon. Take care. Bye bye. Jai Hind.